This is Alex Howard here at the Strata conference in California. With me I have someone from Cambridge all the way out here. It's Andrew McAfee. He's a research professor at MIT. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about a book that you recently published called Race Against the Machine.
Yep.
How's it going?
How's our race against the machine
going?
going?
Are we winning?
Well, we're better at some things than computers, are we? We have some advantages, but the weird phenomenon and what led us to write the book was the fact that we looked around and computers were suddenly demonstrating skills, not demonstrating them in the lab, demonstrating them out there in the real world that we used to think belonged to human beings alone and that we used to think were going to remain the domain of human beings. It's just not the case anymore.
Now, we've heard a lot about this kind of thing for a long time, right? And when I look at what's been written about the book, it's been out now for 3 months or so, 4 months, whether it's the New York Times, The Economist, other places, that people are kind of talking about, well, Ludism, right? The idea you should break the machines, that the machines are taking over. You know, this is just, pulling out an old trend. What's different?
We don't exactly know what's different now. So on the surface, some things look pretty different. A computer that can drive a car in traffic on American roads with no accidents like the Google car does. That's clearly different. A supercomputer that can beat the best human Jeopardy players in a fair fight, crush them. That's fairly different. The question is, what are the economic implications of these advances and how different are those economic implications? Now, like you say, for 200 years we've been automating people out of jobs. And for 200 years there have been Luddites and Marxists and different flavors of people saying the era of mass unemployment is at hand. For 200 years those people have been wrong. And what's basically been happening is that entrepreneurs and innovators come up with new companies, new industries, new job categories, new things as the economy grows and expands, new things that we need people to do. So unemployment stays high. What I don't know this time around is how different it is, because the total basket of things that you need a person to do is smaller than it used to be when you've got computers that can drive and understand human speech and respond to human speech and translate between languages and answer very unstructured questions spoken in a normal human voice. The bundle of stuff that you need a human laborer for seems to be going down. And I don't know all the implications of that yet.
So the book itself is a pretty quick read if you're a quick reader, right? It's, I think, 50 pages, 20,000 words, about that. And if you go through it, you get to some pretty interesting conclusions. And I want to skip to that part. Okay. You and your co-author, who's also a research professor at MIT, correct?
He's an economist at MIT. Eric Brynjolfsson's my co-author.
Okay. Thank you for pronouncing his last name for me.
Yes.
And the crux of it is that you're actually optimistic about the differences that technology will bring to the workforce and to society. Now, that's an interesting contrast here and there.
Yeah, we're hugely optimistic. Technological progress and the stuff that goes along with it is unambiguously good news for an economy and for a society. Productivity growth is great news. There's no better way to increase your standard of living than to become more productive, either at the individual level or the societal level. So we're huge digital optimists. The one area of concern is the fact that it feels like some people are being left behind as the machines race ahead. And these are typically kind of mid to lower skill, lower wage knowledge workers who are finding the stuff that they have to offer to the labor force automated and automatable. And I worry about the future employment prospects of those people. So some of what we do in the book is to try to say, this is an issue, we need to spend some time thinking about what to do about it.
Now, you did spend some time. What were some of the recommendations in terms of public policy, right? I mean, you could think of, say, in New York, there's traditionally been a huge, anthill of people working on going through documents. With new e-discovery software, that might be able to chew through that very quickly.
Exactly.
How should people who are thinking about job creation approach this at this point?
The cure-all for any economic woe is economic growth. So if our economy starts to grow quite quickly, people are going to be put back to work and people are going to be looking around for folk to hire. Even with that going on, though, this technological encroachment is still taking place. And to us, that implies a few things. That implies we need to very seriously rethink our educational methods and our educational system, because we're kind of turning out industrial era workers and people with industrial era skills when we've moved well past that era.
So Taylorism is a bad word.
Well, just kind of the fact-based model of learning is a fairly bad idea, because any of us can look up facts on any device quite quickly. What's the problem here? How do I frame it? How do I solve it? And how do I work with machines to do that? Those are incredibly valuable skills that should carry forward. I also do think, though, that there is going to be a body of people who, I'll say it again, are going to be left behind as technical progress races ahead. As a society, we need to do some thinking about what's the right way to care for those people.
Okay. Is the answer to send them to community colleges? Is the answer to do something else?
It's definitely reskilling and retraining are a big part of the answer.
Okay.
And I look at things like what Mayor Rahm Emanuel is doing in Chicago, where he looks around at the community college system and he says, look, we're not doing a good enough job of preparing people to go get work when they graduate, because the big companies in and around Chicago tell me they can't find people. So we're putting the wrong skills out there. Let's rethink that. Let's bring government, industry, and the educational institutions together and put together a curriculum that will actually deliver valuable skills out there.
This is a good conversation, and unfortunately it's one we're going to have to continue over coffee or over the internet, where of course you are an active participant.
We'll carry it on from here.
Okay, so if you want to find more about what he's talking about, check out raceagainstthemachine.com. You can follow the professor at McAfee on Twitter, or read him at andrewmcafee.org. There's plenty more discussion around this topic there. I highly recommend looking deeper there.